another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier. Good morning, Sal.
How we doing today?
Great. Hey, we have a couple guests in-house today with us, and we're going to talk financing as we go into harvest season and fall and prepay. And joining us today in studio is Justin Moffitt from John Deere Financial and Nate Yeagle, VP of Credit for Premier Companies. And gentlemen, I'm going to let you give a little history and background for yourself, and we're going to run through what are the options for our customers as we go into buying season for the 2023 crop season. So, Justin, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Like I said, my name is Justin Moffitt. I'm the area sales manager with John Deere Financial. I have responsibility for the state of Indiana and Western Michigan to work with retail companies, co-ops like yourself, along with the customers in this territory.
Okay, thanks. Nate?
Nate Yeagle. I'm Vice President of Credit with Premier. Work with an awesome credit team, Grant Von Dilligan, Christy Schwerin, Crystal Tolbert, and Marlene, and been here, came over with the White River merger, and look forward to helping farmers through the 2023 season.
Okay, great. Well, Justin, you have several bullet points of things we can cover, and so we want to focus on what you offer for farmers this year, what they can expect as they go into the 2023 buying season. And we'll just let you kick it off. Give us a little bit of the history of John Deere Financial and what are your plans? What are your packages? And we'll try to cover the bases.
Sounds good. Yeah, so John Deere Financial, we're a financial company that provides financial solutions that enable our customers and retail channels to advance their lives and livelihood. And what I specifically cover is called our multi-use account. So that actually traces its roots back to 1974 when the Wisconsin Equipment Dealer Association created what was known as Farm Plan back in the day. And that was just a way to eliminate the risk, the hassle, the expense of carrying customers in-house. And then Deere actually purchased that from the Wisconsin Dealer Equipment Association in the 80s. And then later on in the 2000s, rebranded it to what it is now today, the multi-use account.
Okay. Well, explain to us a little bit about the multi-use account, the terms, and all that on.
Yep. So what the multi-use account is, it's a customizable finance solution. So if a customer applies for an account, they get established with 2 credit limits. The first one I always like to talk about is the regular terms credit limit, and that is a line of credit that customers will use at the local John Deere dealerships. That's for parts, service, and attachments, and think of it more like a credit card almost. It's got 30 days, no interest. At the end of that 30 days, there's a minimum monthly payment due, and if they decide to carry a balance on that, they'll accrue interest on that balance. The other credit line, and what we'll kind of focus on more here today, is called special terms. And what that is, it's a customized solution that allows you customers to lock in their purchases and free up operating cash in season, and then not make payments on those inputs until after harvest.
Okay.
Well, so I signed up. I had to get some bush hog blades, right? So my local in Bromer, Indiana, the big city of Bromer, I went in and got a credit line set up with John Deere. So that was unknowingly I signed up with John Deere Finance. Is that who does all the in-house accounts for all the John Deere locations?
That's correct. All of that, the multi-use account is through John Deere Financial. So yeah, the dealerships, you can sign up there. You can apply online with our online credit application, or also just our standard paper application as well. Which one did you do?
Standard paper.
Okay.
So, and then now my wife hopefully will pay this next month, right? So normal terms. And then so the other one is more for larger purchases, crop inputs, I guess.
Correct. So when you get an account established, we can now review customers for up to $250,000 without any financial paperwork needed.
Wow.
So if a customer signs up, they get those credit limits established. They get to dictate which account they want the amount of money in. So, for example, we'll typically see customers will have roughly $20,000 over in regular terms, just like you said, to have some money for parts and service, things like that. But then with the ag inputs, it's a higher priced venture. They'll usually have anywhere between $120,000 to $230,000 over there to cover their seed, chemicals, and fertilizers.
Okay.
And for us, that's a big thing that Justin just mentioned. Is previously that was 120.
Last year it was 120, right. And the year before that it was 50,000.
So they're able to get up to that higher limit now, which what we'd seen happen a lot with farmers on their John Deere Financial programs was they were maxing it out. And so now that we have this opportunity, we can get in better with seed and chem, provide more of that lower interest rate lock-ins for the farmers. So that's a huge perk.
Multi-use.
Yes, on the multi-use.
Right.
And the idea is it's one account that you can use for multiple aspects. I mean, you can cover everything, like I said, the parts, the service, to your inputs, to one account. You'll receive the monthly statement each month, or you can view it online at our mymultiuseaccount.com to view your monthly statements. And then also at the end of the year, we'll send you an annual purchase summary of everything you've bought throughout the year, categorized into parts, labor, and then your ag inputs as well.
That's convenient.
Yeah. So you mentioned bridge financing as we move ahead with the conversation of the multi-use account and bridge financing. Explain that for our customers.
Yeah, thanks. So bridge financing, it's a pretty powerful tool. It's industry exclusive to John Deere Financial. So it's perfect timing right now. A lot of these seed programs for the next crop season have kicked off September 1st. But like I stated earlier, these programs allow you to not pay back last year's balance on these special terms program until after harvest. So there's a little bit of a lag in there where you want to try and capitalize on the early seed order to capitalize on the discounts, but you haven't paid off last year's seed balance. So what bridge financing allows you to do is the customer can lock in that early commitment on their seed, capitalize in that first early order window to get the biggest discount possible without paying last year's seed balance off. And we call that a bridge financing. It's basically sitting there in a pending status, and it will transact and frictionlessly go onto that customer's account once they've paid off their last year balance.
Seed only.
Most of our programs are available to bridge, but we typically only see that on seed programs.
Okay.
I guess for our listeners that aren't in agriculture, that's a huge deal because a farmer has all this cash outlay, and he doesn't get any return on that until harvest, and that's whenever he starts getting freed up. And then we also have some manufacturers, Nate, I guess they kind of sponsor some of this. Like, sponsor, is that a good word? That's probably not a credit word. Well, sponsorship.
We've got the manufacturer programs, and inside Premier, the big ones that we tend to use are Bayer, BASF. We actually use Purina on some feed stuff as well. Then we also have some things out there with Winfield, Cropland, DeKalb, and those things. So those are the primary ones that we use. Justin can elaborate on this, but typically what we see on those is, and historically, anywhere from 0 to maybe a couple % locked in, or then you also get into prime plus minus programs as well, depending on what the program is. So some of that's changed a little bit for this year with the rising rate increases, but that's another good reason to look at Deere as an option, because there are some fixed rates that aren't going to be as impacted by Fed moves and interest rates. So,
just this is probably where we should say the disclaimer, but what's going to happen with these interest rates? I mean, that's probably what's on for those of us.
We'll have Nate's phone number up,
Yeah.
so whatever, so people can contact him.
Well, to give you an idea, last year in 2021, we were the Wall Street Journal prime rate, which is what we tend to benchmark a lot, was 3.25%, and right now that's currently sitting at 5.5%. There are talks of another increase this year, and even potentially through next year. The earliest that I've seen anticipated on lowering interest rates would be late 2024 or 2025, but again, that's just a complete coin toss at this point. If anything, I think the expectation is they'll continue to increase. So the ability to lock in on some of these programs can save farmers, a lot of money. I mean, basically a 2.25% increase over the last year equates to some serious money whenever you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in financing.
And what I heard Justin say when he first started was that the growers can take this money and use it to prepay or to get earlier discounts, to take advantage of other discounts with no penalty.
Yep.
That's correct. Yeah, and what Nate said, we're seeing this rising rate environment, so just the ability to lock in those orders, to mitigate some of that risk, capitalize on those early discounts. It's been a pretty couple good years leading up to this. The only thing the interest rates have been doing is going down. So seeing these start to ratchet up at 75 basis points each time they've raised it now the past 2 times, I think a lot of customers out there are starting to look at it a little harder and trying to find some different solutions for their operations.
Okay, let's talk about credit limits for a little bit. You've kind of prompted us with a few bullet points, but you have credit limits and credit increase initiatives as far as revolving and unsecured. Jump into that for us a little bit.
Yep. So when you apply for a multi-use account, you get an account established. It is a revolving account. So if you get approved for up to $250,000, as long as you pay your bill on time, there is no annual paperwork required to maintain those limits. As long as you pay your bill, that money's placed back, your balance is covered. It'll be there the next month to use. And it is unsecured line of credit, just like a credit card. We're not taking out crop liens or anything like that. And like we touched on those credit limits earlier, we've really met the need of this higher prices and on everything that's happening right now with that increase to $250,000. And we've actually gone through, we've already done it. We've done a proactive increase on a lot of existing multi-use accounts already. That went into effect July, August timeframe. And then we've just now opened it up to anybody can call in to get their account reviewed to see if they can be increased to $250,000 as well.
Okay.
That's convenient. I mean, if listeners aren't in agriculture, I mean, the unexpected costs can come up. I mean, we can have either breakdowns, which is one of your multi-use, but then you can also have just different things that you didn't plan on happen. You can have different pests or different crop inputs that maybe you didn't plan on that you weren't going to apply for. So being able to get that increase quickly with a reason, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and if you know where your credit limit's at now, and if you are interested in getting that increased, I would recommend reaching out to your Premier account manager. They can request the increase for you. Customers can do it themselves by calling into our 1-800 number, or they can reach out to me. They can call or text me. Like I said, I'm the resource. I live about an hour north of Indianapolis, so I'd be happy to travel down to meet many of your customers in person with the account manager, with Nate, to get an account set up or look at increase reviews.
There's probably some tools that growers can use, right, to figure out some kind of projection, like how much they'll need for a season. Is that do we have some tools online that they can use, or just go off of history a lot of times?
History tells a lot, and I would work out that plan with your account manager here at Premier to figure out from an agronomic standpoint what you're going to need, and then look at what that's going to cost. We do have some tools available out there. Inputfinancecalc.com. Customers can go on there and start plugging in some numbers to see if I've got a $100,000 seed order, they can pick a program, say it's a prime -1 or a fixed 0 program, and then they can go and compare that to another offer if they were to take cash from their operating line. So that will show a net savings there potentially just by running different scenarios.
Inputfinancecalc.com.
Correct.
And they can, so they've got operating lines also. They can compare those two.
Yep.
And just see which one would be right for them.
Correct.
Good.
I think kind of to build on that a little bit, when we're talking about the calculator and how much they can save based on what their operating lines are, maybe with their bank or farm credit or something like that, is when we're working with a client, what we try to do is start setting up the most feasible and economic option for the client that works inside of what their repayment plan needs to be and so forth. One of the first places we go is to Deere, because typically what you see is the vendor manufacturer programs like the Bayer and BASF programs are typically your lowest interest rate options for financing. And then we kind of start building out from there. And so, if you have the opportunity to take a couple $100,000 and put it into a vendor program and lower your overall average cost of insurance or average cost of interest for the year, again, huge benefit.
Sure, because the manufacturer, they sponsor it because they want their products used, right? So they try to provide, so incentives work. So they put an incentive out there for a customer or for a grower to use their products in the system.
So with John Deere being huge, global, well-known, everybody understands that name and understands what you do. And as far as the financial piece, you have online options. You just asked Sal, how'd you sign up, paper or online? You have online options as well. So those who maybe still aren't as familiar with doing stuff online, and so you think, man, I'm filling out a credit app. There's going to be a lot of information on here. Security-wise, how are you guys making sure that information is secure?
So we've really doubled down on the ways our customers can apply. I touched on the online credit application. All of that is through our secure portal. And we've actually released some digital enhancements now. Before, when you signed up, you'd either have to go into a John Deere dealership and they could verify your identity, or you'd have to call into our 1-800 number and answer some questions from your credit reporting agency to verify you are who you are. But now we have the ability to do facial ID, facial recognition. So you'll take a picture of your driver's license, and then you'll just take a selfie, and that's enough to then verify the account to get it set up. And then we also have just released a secure document upload feature through our online credit application. So, like I said, we're talking about credit limits from $0 to $250,000. That's just what we can review for without financials. We underwrite for larger limits, and that's just based off a customer's balance sheets. So when a customer does need to provide a balance sheet and a Schedule F and maybe some tax returns depending on the limit that they're getting reviewed for, before we either that customer would have to put them in the mail, I'd have to go pick them up, or we'd have to use the old fax machine. But now with the secure document upload, we're able to just, customers will be able to attach that to their account, we'll receive them, and I'm hoping one day we'll be able to get rid of the fax machines altogether.
What will you do then, Sal?
I'm not sure, because I was there for Farm Plan when it came out, and we had those little bitty cards in a long like Rolodex, and we'd pull them out and have the old dial up and run the credit card machine. So
I'm sure the fax machines will continue to be around, but I think they'll be fewer and farther between.
I bet Justin's never even seen a dot matrix printer. You know
Probably not.
I did have to learn coming into this job. I had to get an eFax number, so I had to go through the whole training process of what an eFax was. So that was fun.
He's one of those that would still not refer to all of us at this table as our generation. He would separate himself as his generation and our generation, I'm sure.
I remember at the office there in Salem at the fertilizer plant when we got our first fax machine, and that was the heat paper, right? The old curly heat paper, and we got our first fax came in, and we all stood around and watched it come through like it was magic. That was like some sort of Star Wars happening right there.
You're dating.
It was amazing. I mean, it came through on a telephone line.
Absolutely.
And now you're taking selfies of yourself to verify your identity.
Right. So I got to look at my driver's license picture to make sure that I don't look like the 30-pound heavier fat cousin of the guy on my driver's license. I don't remember last time I had a picture taken on my driver's license, so I'm not sure that the ID would even recognize me at this point. So, hey, Nate, what else from a Premier perspective do you want to talk about from the financing piece?
Well, I mean, Harold preaches this, that he definitely believes, our CEO believes, that it's responsible for us and kind of incumbent upon us to offer financing solutions to our growers and to help them through their seasons and find ways to pay. And I think that's one of the big things, is that we work with different vendors to try to find the best solutions possible for farmers and growers to finance their inputs for the year. And that works for a plan for them, because some guys are able to make the November, December payments. Other guys are needing, January, February, March because of, their marketing plans and when they sell out grain. So we look at things like that and evaluating what programs would work. We're going to take a look at what we anticipate to be an overall need for the farmer. Pretty well, it's amazing how much financing actually can be obtained from some pretty basic information. What John Deere requires, what some of our other vendors require, what we require for input financing in-house as well. It's pretty well the same thing. I mean, we're gonna look for a crop plan. We're gonna look for just some basic balance sheet information. Where some other operating lines are at and things like that. It's not. We're not asking, at least for certain dollar amounts, we're not asking for 2 or 3 years tax returns. So out the gate, we can do a lot for a lot of farmers. And I think, with that, as I mentioned earlier, Deere's one of the first places that we go because they do have the relationships, or they've partnered with Bayer and BASF and some of the other vendors that offer these that are what are traditionally zero or locked low interest rate programs, and then they get into the prime plus, prime minus programs as well. And then we'll kind of try to structure a plan for a guy. We've got some growers that are on 3 or 4 different plans, by the time they figure in their operating line with their local lender as well. But then, they might be on our Deere program. They might be a little bit on our in-house program. They might have another vendor program that they're working with. So again, we'll make it as easy or as complicated as the grower wants it to be. We have some guys that just say, hey, I just want one bill. So, I don't want to worry about the different vendors and stuff. And so we'll try to do something in-house or something like that for them. But, I think that's a big thing as we're kind of getting ready to. September 1 was the launch for some of the programs with some of our vendors. So we're over the next couple months, we'll definitely be ramping up on helping guys get financing secure for the 2023 crop year, so they can take advantage of the prepay benefits and locking in product for next year, which I know is a concern for some guys. And again, a good way to beat inflation is if you can get locked in, or to beat interest rate increases, if you can go ahead and get signed up for something that's locked, then by all means, why not take advantage of that? The other piece of it is we also have a lot of stuff coming due. Towards the end of the year, Deere will have stuff, especially on those Bayer and BASF programs. You're going to be looking at November, December payment terms. A lot of our other stuff ranges from December to February on repayment. So, we can work with guys on getting that planned out. And I think that was something I was talking to Justin about earlier is the different ways that they can pay their Deere bill. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So customers, we've got a app, My Financial app through John Deere, where they can review their account, make payments. They can make payments online, mymultisaccount.com, and then they can also call our 1-800 customer service number. Those are always our recommendations on how to pay. I know during the height of COVID, and we're still seeing it a little bit now, customers were mailing in checks, and they can still do that, but that was causing some grief with customers because they were getting lost in the mail for 3 to 4 months, and during that time they'd sent the check in, and we didn't receive it yet, so they were getting interest accrued. So we went through, made everything right, worked through those, but I would definitely lean towards the side of caution of calling in or making a payment online to just reduce that risk.
Yeah, it used to be we'd say the check's in the mail, but now we're like, oh no, it's not. It'll never get.
That's not good news.
We'll never see it.
And from a
Should have faxed it.
Yeah, should have faxed it.
and from a credit department standpoint, that's our favorite line: checks in the
Oh,
mail.
yeah, sure,
We hear
right?
that one frequently, but that is not unique though to Deere. We had that with some other vendors last year where we had guys mail in and say, "Hey, my payment hasn't posted. What's going on?" And that for that reason, we do highly recommend if they have the option to either pay online or call in, get it done, get it out there. The per diem interest rate goes away at that point. You're not worried about residual $200, $300 worth of interest that's hit, and then there's a fight with somebody over who owes that, type situation. So maybe the U.S. Postal Service. I don't know. That'd be interesting to see, but.
I think it's neat, though, to watch our credit department, and they develop relationships with the customers. And in between Grant and Christy and Nate, they understand the different businesses that our farmers are in. Some have trucking businesses, some have livestock, some are just row crop farmers, grain farmers. But you all understand, and you understand the demands of that farming is a year-round activity. Harvest only happens once. And you all understand that, and it's neat to watch you all work through different solutions, and even bring in other partner companies to try to offset some of these interest rates and try to take advantage of programs. And the next thing you know, you've saved several $1,000s in interest expense.
And you did mention something there. I mean, it's not just crop inputs. I mean, there's the fuel bill.
Sure.
There's the propane for dryer heat. There's all kinds of things out there that we'll try to make it convenient for or find solutions for.
Outstanding. You got anything else for
I
him?
don't have anything else.
Gentlemen, do you have anything else you'd like to expound on?
I'd thank Justin for the partnership with Premier that John Deere offers, and they've been a valuable resource for us, and we look forward to continuing that. And I think if anyone does have questions about getting their credit limit increased or whatever, get a hold of Justin, get a hold of Grant or myself, or talk to the account manager, let them know that you're interested in getting that increased, and we can start working on the process to do that.
So for our listeners who won't be viewing this necessarily on YouTube, where we can pop this information up, Justin, you're the area sales manager for John Deere Financial. You want to give us a good phone number and email, just so they can rewind this back and hear it. Give us your contact information so growers can get a hold of you. Nate, I'd ask you to do the same once he's done. Okay.
Yeah, so my cell phone number is 515-422-8712. So feel free to give me a call, text, and then my email is moffatjustnd@johndeere.com.
And then a good phone number for myself is 812-295-4835. And then an email would be Yagle, Y-A-G-L-E, @premierag.com.
Okay, outstanding.
So you just had them put that information out there for thousands of our listeners. So this will be a good test to see who all calls.
I thought about using Ryan's there.
Yeah, you can. You're fine.
He's had that before.
Several of them have it.
No. That's an inside
Several
joke.
of them have it, but for sure we'd be flashing this information up on the screen anyway. So those who are listening on Spotify or any of our other platforms, we want to make sure that they can contact these gentlemen as they have questions. So if there's nothing further, this is another episode of The High Ground powered by Premier Companies. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you all.